show. And always good to see Lauren Rich as she joins me this morning. Toxic masculinity is our subject today. I have no idea what to expect with this one.
Well, you had mentioned it a few weeks ago, and boy, you want to get me hot and bothered, just say the words toxic masculinity. It's another one of those ideological words that has no research basis behind it whatsoever.
So what are they trying to coin it as?
So the allegation is that men are unable to express emotions, that toxic masculinity is this concept or ideology that men are not able to express emotions other than anger, that men are sexually aggressive and think of sex all the time, that men are always competitive with women and there's never a cooperative agreement, along with a number of other things. But ultimately, the APA, or the American Psychological Association, released a statement on guidelines last year, which I am not a member of, thank goodness. I was a member of a different organization. And I'll be honest, when they started arguing about who uses what bathroom, I stopped paying the membership fee, because that doesn't do me any good as a clinician. That doesn't do my people any good. And so I just completely stopped enrolling in the membership altogether, which I think a lot of people did with the APA as well. And the guidelines talk about treating toxic masculinity, young men and young boys, and it really has no evidence or research basis behind it. It simply is an ideology. And I brought this up because within the past couple of months, I've had a number, I'm going to say at minimum 3, young males in my office, ballpark age 20, 21-ish, somewhere in there, and they basically feel guilty for being men. And so we have to have the discussion of, I understand that you're in this new generation where apparently men are responsible for everything bad, and even asking a woman for her telephone number is harassment, but this is not reality. Being a man does not make you guilty of anything. It's not wrong to be a man. It's not wrong to be masculine.
But yet they're trying to strip away everything that is a man. I feel.
Yeah.
Being a man, I see it all the time. I'm like,
Yes,
are you kidding
absolutely.
me?
What have you seen that they're stripping away?
Well, just the whole everything about being a man. They blame you if you can't hold the door open for some women, because they're like, I'll get that, thank you. Well, I know you can, but I was raised to...
Can't give compliments because that's harassment.
Right. I mean, it just goes on and on, so you just kind of stop. Yeah. And so you just want to be... Just because a guy compliments you in your dress or whatever, that doesn't mean he's hitting on you. Okay? Number one, don't take that for granted. Yeah. Don't go, oh, yeah, he definitely flirted with me. No, it's called being nice.
Yes.
And what you don't see is I also see a guy running in the rain toward the door. I'll hold the door open for him, too.
Yes, that's exactly right.
It's called being kind to one another, but yet it's automatically assumed at times
it's sexism.
That I'm a guy, so he must be doing this, and that is wrong.
And I have always said in my PTSD education classes that were... really just all combat veterans. It was only on an occasional exception that I would have somebody who was a non-combat veteran, and that would be something like someone who served in law enforcement for 20 plus years. That would be a random exception. I always talk in class about how the measure of society is whether or not we can raise a gentle man. That really is, in my opinion, the most important thing. And when you look at, quote unquote barbaric societies versus American society, we've done quite well. But they are wanting to solve the problem by emasculating men and taking away those things. And they've done that via removing the man as the main provider. Men who, like you said, talk to women about anything of attractiveness or even strike up a conversation, it's nowadays harassment. And I have to say, if you're a mother of a son, you better be worried. You better be talking to your son about how this is not reality. About how we interact with women, about how we keep ourselves safe with women and we protect ourselves from false allegations. Because mothers of sons if you're a mother who's been fighting for feminism and you now have a son, be prepared that this will come around. It really will.
So what's
it's not
the point?
Good for anybody.
Who's trying to do this and why? I don't understand by trying to re-engineer how men act after a complete history of men being men. And all realms of that. There are kind men, there are good men, but there are qualities of a man that they should never be touched. There should be a fierceness, not an aggressiveness to men. And what I mean by that, as a man, when I do something, I want to do it right. I want to win at it. It's in my scope. And then if I see someone that's in my house or in my world and their world is falling apart, it's my job to me
to make
go,
it better,
to go make it better, and to protect and to do all these
so
things.
the counter argument, they would say that the TMs, the toxic masculinity arguers, would say that you are more afraid of losing your masculinity and that's why you want to step in. They don't say it's for the good of society or culture, or that it's an anthropological decision-making process. They would say that you're simply afraid of losing your masculinity, especially as a middle-class white Christian male. You, Cliff Castile, especially, are afraid of losing your masculinity.
I'm so afraid of it.
You should be. You should be.
I'm so not, though. That's the whole thing.
Well, and that's
I just have decided what a man is. I was led by great men in front of me, my grandparents, my dad. I know how a man's supposed to act, and I don't have to try to act like that. That's just what I am.
And the ironic part to that is that if we look at communities that do not have men present at all, like the Black or African American community in some of our larger inner cities, what's happening to those young males? They don't have a positive role model on the male side, so they end up following negative role models. That's how we get sucked into gangs
the
and
toughest
violence.
guy on the street.
Yes,
so
because there is a complete absence of positive male role models in their life, and people can say, well, there are some teachers that are men, the coaches, and that's great. Those people are wonderful influences, and we have to keep those in our children's lives. However, parents are ultimately responsible for teaching their children roles and what that means in their own household, and if that isn't there to happen, they'll find a role model somewhere else.
Right. I think you're totally right, because I think it's just in men, and women there are women that feel they're the same. I mean, this is not all about the differences between men and women, but I've just known as a man, and a lot of the men I knew, I talked earlier about fierceness, or it may come across as aggressiveness. And I don't like to use the word aggressive because that usually means toward other people. But if you, in my opinion, and you could agree with me or not, because I don't know, I'm just telling you what I've learned over my 56 years, is that all men have this fierceness inside. And you can either aim that toward your career, you can aim it toward something you're passionate about, your music, you can aim it so many other places. But when it's misdirected and misguided by the absence of other men in their lives, they'll aim that aggressiveness to either things on the street, to be the toughest, to take this from that person, to what they just don't understand. But if they can channel that natural man energy that they have inside of them, then that has always been, since mankind, to protect, to conquer, to do whatever. You don't have to conquer the neighborhood. You can conquer your next recording project.
Yes.
You can conquer your being the best employee at Lowe's whatsoever.
And again, that goes back to the competitiveness that we've been talking about. A cooperative competition where everyone plays by the same rules is a place where everyone learns and grows as a person and as a kid. But when we start implementing things like participation trophies, we've taken that away. And then you, the natural competitor that you are, all of a sudden you're in the wrong because you want to play to win.
Right.
And so it's a much broader discussion than just the one term that, this one week that we've been talking about. If you're a parent and you hear some of this come home, your child has come home from school and this is what they're discussing, you better be prepared to counter that and to educate them on what the reality is, because this is simply rhetoric and ideology. It has no research basis whatsoever. People can pull numbers out, and I did a lot of reading. People pull random numbers out that are either taken out of context or don't apply whatsoever. And we look at the people who are backing this. Hillary Clinton a couple of years ago made a comment at a dinner where the cocktail that was served was called toxic masculinity. And she made a statement that men are responsible for wars, men are trying to undo everything that we have done for feminism. And the reality is that this woman has some major issues that she's really angry about. When you go and look at that quote, this is far beyond feminism in my psychological assessment. But when we just take her statement for what it is, men are also responsible for pulling people from burning towers on 9/11. Men may start wars, but they also end wars. Men die for our country.
So true.
We have to look at the other side of that argument. We can't just say that men do X, Y, and Z and that they're trying to put feminists back. And the other side to that coin is if we are constantly encouraging women to become more masculine, at what point will they have toxic masculinity? You know, you
crazy world we live in. How are you teaching these 20-somethings that are coming in and feeling like they no longer how to be a man because everything that they feel inside of them, everything they've been taught from history of their family, is now all being rejected in some form in some parts of our society? What do you tell them? How do you ask a girl out if you're 20 years old?
So part of that when we sit in session is, what makes you think that? What evidence is there to support your theory that you're a bad man? How are you coming to that conclusion? And they'll say, one of them said last week, well, you know, that's just what's all over social media. And my response to that was, that stuff is garbage, turn it off. You know, it is a psychological tool and a beast that has morphed via the algorithm. And so dependent on what you watch, it will find holes, it will fill in sentences for you. And so don't believe everything that you see. The other thing is that bad news attracts, I think they say that bad news attracts viewers 6 times more than actual factual-based news. And so if it's outlandish or inflammatory in some way on social media, we're 6 times more likely to click on it and follow through.
6 times more clicks on all your articles means more revenue for the media organization.
The suggested videos come up. Once you've clicked on that one, more and more suggestions come up. So part of it is educating them and saying, look, I know your generation has grown up with social media, but this is not fact-based news. This is not research. This is simply social media. The other thing is that some of them have felt guilty about having sexual thoughts about women. And I have to explain that this is perfectly normal. Again, from the anthropological stance, from the biological stance, you are meant to have an attraction to women. This is all about survival. So don't feel guilty for being attracted to women. You've not done anything wrong by feeling that way.
It's just unreal that we've had discussions over the years of which bathroom you should use, and now men who are just having normal feelings,
everyday thoughts
are feeling bad about it because of the society we live in.
Yes,
what's
absolutely.
the long-term ramifications of something like this? This is not something that this is not just a speed bump. This is going to cause huge problems.
This is an unraveling. This is an unraveling of society
over the next,
in my opinion,
decade or so, right?
Oh, well,
or quicker.
If the status quo stays this way for the next 20 years, yeah, I mean, it will continue to get worse. The family unit will continue to fall apart. You know, the dynamics will continue to shift and change and be more polarized. But you know, in therapy, oh my gosh, and I have to almost hold back a little bit because they really have been indoctrinated. And so saying to them, yes, the Me Too movement was helpful in some ways, but it was also very detrimental in other ways. And they'll say, well, how is that? Well, look at what it's done to some of our men in society. You know, because as many women as there are that tell the truth about those things, there's also probably just as many women that do not tell the truth about those things. And as a man, when you've been accused of something like that, you have to work to prove your innocence, and that's not the way our system is set up.
It's innocent to proven
That's
guilty,
exactly right.
not the other way around.
So again, they come into my office and they say, I've done something wrong, and I have to say, in what way? Prove it to me. Show me where the argument is that you have done something wrong by simply being a man, by having those thoughts. So again, if you're a parent, you need to really watch what the school system is teaching your kid. You need to talk about those things openly. If you're a dad, you need to be involved, especially in your daughter's lives, and communicating the importance of being with a good, respectful, gentle man.
A gentleman.
That's right,
exactly
a gentleman.
Right.
And if you're a father to a son, we need to be talking about the reality that you need to watch out for yourself and keep yourself safe, because we're no longer in a society where truth and fact prevail. People can say it and they think it's true.
Is what bathroom he's going to go to, and it hindered his life and slowed him down or stopped him.
Or being told that he should be ashamed and feel guilty about being a man.
Well,
you shouldn't go to medical school because you're a man, and we need more women in that role.
Well, that might be the case, but let me tell you what. I am a man. I'm going to be kind to people. I'm going to be fierce in the areas that I need to be, the things that I believe in, I'm going to be passionate about. The people that I feel that I need to love and protect, I'm going to do that with all of my heart and all my ability. And I know what bathroom I'm going to. It's going to say men on it. And I'm leaving it there.
Here's the summation for today is don't stop being a man.
Yeah, don't.
You just keep on being who you are.
Quit worrying about what other people are going to say. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, absolutely.